We're live. Okay, so this week our guest, Leah Paliotto. Paliotto. I try and get these last names right, but
that's fair.
Yeah, we're working on it. So no, we're excited to have you on. Kate has been talking about having you on for a while, and especially for a lot of women here, our population, a lot of people come in post-grad and then they start to have families and things here. And so I think this resonates with a lot of people. So Leah is pregnant. How far along are you now?
I think 26.
Okay, 26 weeks.
Yeah, so baby's coming May 16th.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay, cool.
So about 3 months out.
I swear, I still forget until I see like you from the side. You got the tiniest little pump.
You see chins.
Well, I didn't know until very recently, so you weren't really showing too much until I think a few weeks ago. I don't know, at least from my perspective.
I remember seeing it in Rev a few weeks ago, and I went up to Amanda. I was like, I'm not sure yet, and I'm not making a mistake, but I was
never
like,
say anything.
That's the golden rule until
Never.
until they're like almost due. Then
until they
it's safe
have
to
the
say.
baby.
Yeah.
Right. And then you can
I
say,
never knew, but I was like, man, I was like, okay, I'm just making sure. Okay,
She's been eating a lot
I
of chocolate.
thought
never
so.
say anything.
No, I wasn't sure, but yeah.
Yeah, but it's amazing this time how much faster I feel like my body was aware of what was going on. I don't know if you felt this way, but I feel like the first time, it was like right around this time that I was like, okay, I have a little bump. You just felt like bloated and wide for a while.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm not opposed to it, but I'm just like, oh,
I liked it more the second time, like looking like I actually looked pregnant, not just like I had like
confused.
a bender.
Yes.
They're like, people were like, I don't know what you did, drank or ate too much or both, but something's going on with you.
Didn't you have someone come into like a nutrition meeting and you weren't like maybe showing fully, but they almost gave you like a side eye, like your pictures aren't matching what I'm looking at here.
I will never forget this meeting, and I don't know who you are, but bitch, you lit a fire under my ass after this. So thank you for that. But I was like 15 or 16 weeks pregnant, was with Oscar, and I gained weight during my first trimester both times, like pretty quickly, probably like 12 pounds, 15 pounds by that point. I know you're not supposed to, but I do. So I was like, hey, just so you know, this is the first time this one was meeting with me in person. She had already signed up online. I was like, I'm not chubby right now. I'm pregnant. She's like, well, I wondered because you sure don't look like that picture up there on the wall.
Shut up.
And I was like, okay.
Oh, you're fired.
It's on. Yeah. This is going to be a long 3 months.
And your training just got a lot worse. Yeah.
But,
comments.
Yeah. I mean, I guess sometimes I put myself in this seat. Brandon always reminds me, I will push people to their potential. So they'll always look at me, and sometimes they bite back a little bit. Like when you have a kid and you're hard on them, they're like, what about you? I see you being lazy. And you're like, oh yeah, I am.
Yeah.
Okay. So you gotta kind of be ready for it. But yeah.
Oh, man.
So Leah, what I like to do is get maybe a 5-minute synopsis of, where'd you grow up? What'd you do, like, from a sports activity standpoint, and then we'll kind of, like, dive into, like, adult training and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I grew up in Hudson, so it's outside of Cleveland and Akron. So it's about 2 hours from here. So I have 3 other sisters. I'm the second oldest. I would say growing up, always active, but wasn't totally into sports until maybe about 4th or 5th grade. I started swimming. And it wasn't super competitive. It was more of just like, if you enjoy it, do it. My parents were never pushy. So I really started to pick it up then, I would say, through middle school and then through high school, swim competitively. Loved it. That was kind of like my sport. My sisters all ran cross country and were phenomenal at it. I joined the team and was like, I am the caboose. Like, you guys are lapping me. I have no business being here. So, I would do that just for entertainment, but swimming was really the priority. So It was the 2-a-days over, throughout the school year, through Christmas, the summer training, first thing in the morning. And then when it was time for college, I had a few offers in terms of, D3 schools, nothing top of the line. But I did have a teammate who went and swam at OU the year prior to me, so she was a year older. And she just kind of came back and said it wasn't the same vibe, wasn't the same team dynamic. So I, at that point, was like, you know what? I love it. I'm decent at it. I'm pretty good at it. But at this point, I want college. I want to enjoy it.
Sure.
So made the decision then. Throughout college, I would say I worked out in terms of elliptical 30 minutes 3 times a week was my jam at best. So packed on plenty of pounds there. And then post-college, I would say I didn't, went to the gym. I didn't really have a structured routine until maybe 2015-ish that I found CrossFit. So it was a different CrossFit gym, started going there, loved it. I just loved the training, the atmosphere. My sister actually had done CrossFit, my youngest one. She loved it and was competitive, really good at it. So she kind of brought me into this a little bit. So that was kind of the history of how I found CrossFit. Cool. And then I actually met Mark, my husband, at my old gym. I always joke that we need a better story because I'm like, we met at the gym.
Well, that's a great story. We love that story.
I know, but
that's how all of us met.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
My wife there.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
It is.
And us
it
too.
is.
I joined his gym.
It's super cliche, but I mean,
It's the best.
People are like, do you let you work in? And I was like, okay, I promise it's not like that, But it's just the classroom environment of you see people, you get to talk to them. And then we came here in maybe, I think, winter of 21. So he came over, he found the body biz, did that for about 3 months, and then we just joined and loved it ever since. We haven't looked back.
Cool.
And so 2015, how old were you then?
I think it was 2015. I don't know, I'm 36 now. What's the math?
Yeah, so 10 years, yeah.
27.
26.
Yeah, maybe around there.
Yeah, cool. That's about the age I found CrossFit.
Yeah.
That's cool. I mean, to your point, most of my coaches and many of the members here, that's how they've all found their spouses too.
Yeah. One of my clients recommended that we have a policy, our coaches don't date members. And I'm like, no. Man, that's the only way. I mean, I've worked in a gym since I was 19, and that's how you meet anyone, if that's your passion, if that's what you're doing. And, it's rare you meet people authentically anymore. I think it's all the dating apps and stuff now,
Totally. And it's so much different than a big Planet Fitness or whatever the other gyms are. I'm like, you get to spend time with people in class. Mark actually, I think he was judging me on one of the open workouts, and I was like, oh, this guy's hot. It was just one of the, I couldn't do double unders to save my life, and he was laughing at me, but it was just kind of organically, I think, through some of that.
Yeah, that's really neat. Yeah. When you get to really see, I feel like it's a good test of character. Mm-hmm. Do you show up when you don't feel great? How do you go about workouts? If people are all real frenzied. I mean, we really dive into the psychology of that every day. That guy's a psychopath. We see what he does. He's got some problems. We're like, what did he do? Nothing. We just saw the way he was working out. He's got issues.
He's not squatting to death. He's not for me. Literally, yeah. He's miscounting his reps. It's no good. He's not honest. Yeah, he's cheating. He's not honest.
But seriously, I mean, it's a good judgment of character. I mean, it's not everything, but it's something, like you do anything else. So
see them at their worst and most exhausted and stressed out physically.
Oh, yeah. And then as a girl, I'm like, you met me at my worst. I was sweaty and gross, and I'm like, oh, there is no expectation of pressure, Yeah. It's not like you met on a date where you looked all great and you're like, oh, I have to take off makeup at night.
Right.
Yeah, so
I do like it in that way too. I hate to say it, but someone can put on a pretty big mask if you're going on, I don't know, say someone met on Tinder or something, and then you go, they have a coat on and they're,
I'm thinking of this story. I know that
no,
date you're talking about too.
No, but they just you can really, spend a bunch of time on makeup and, put on a whole show that that might last for a while. If you've seen someone in the gym for 6 months training, you know what they look like. You kind of got their vibe a little bit, maybe without even talking to them a whole lot.
Seen them without their shirt off.
That's why you got to go on a swimming date to begin with. Let's get your face wet.
Gross. Yeah.
Glistening and half naked. That's perfect.
Sweat the makeup off.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. No, I like it for that reason. So you've trained through, this is your second pregnancy, correct? That you've trained through.
Yep.
How did it go? The first one, like, did you work out through the whole thing? Like, how did you navigate that the first time through?
So my daughter's 21 months,
Yep.
so she will be 2 when the new baby comes.
Yep.
So the first time around, I mean, I had no idea what I was doing. I was kind of like, let me just continue to work out because that's what I've always done. I think from the mental standpoint, it was really good just to get an outlet release. So I was like, let me try my best and see what happens. A big benefit of last time is Mark and I would come to 5:30 Rev most days. So even the days when I was at my lowest or had no energy, like he would be getting in the car to leave and I was like, all right, I can't be a piece of shit. Like get off the couch and go.
Yep.
So I had that extra motivation of like, all right, you're already going. Let me just come with you and I'll do my best.
Yep.
So that really helped me, I think, throughout the majority of the pregnancy. So I was actually able to come until the day before I delivered.
Wow,
It wasn't
cool.
every day, but did my best to like at least move or show up. So I think that set me up really well this time because I was like, I know I can do it.
Yep.
Sure, we're not coming together every day. He started to come in the morning now, but most days if I'm like, just get out of bed and show up, I know I physically can do it. It's just a matter of getting here.
Yeah.
So I think that really helped having that accountability partner of he's going to be here. I might as well be here. Not every day is great. I looked at him yesterday and I was like, oh my God, I suck. Like, you know, you just have those moments of like, I can't push it.
Sure.
And he was like, you shouldn't be able to.
Yeah.
And I was like, thank you. Like that's the reminder I need. I'm hard on myself. But yeah, I think it was just kind of being disciplined enough to come and then seeing what your body can do.
Yeah. No, that's great. And looking at it from afar, like I'm coaching and around, and I saw you training throughout the whole thing, and that's more or less what I thought. Like it's like big reason why I think Kate wanted to have you in here because like we're always watching you. Like she killed it her first pregnancy. She's doing great. She's in here all the time.
To me, you
And
seem
you
like
bounce
you got
back
in better
instantly.
shape
Yeah.
after your daughter, right?
Yes.
Yeah, after your daughter, even than what you were before.
You had like a
Probably because I
slingshot
couldn't drink
effect.
like 18 beers a night. I was like, shit, I have to get up.
But I'd love to see that, like
Yeah.
where women just kind of like whatever their motivation or their energy, or you just tweak some things in your life, and you're like even better than you were before.
Yeah, it was always just like, all right, not get back to what you were, but more mentally, like physically. I was like, I want to be able to do what I used to be able to do.
Yep.
Yeah.
And whatever that looks like, it's not the same level of intensity anymore. But I mean, even postpartum, like post Frankie, having her, wasn't pregnant, but I feel like I could push different areas, not necessarily the same areas. But I think for me, it was just like, it's such a mental release to come.
Yeah.
Tuesday, I wasn't able to come in the morning. And it was funny. I told Mark, I'm like, I dragged all day. Like there was nothing worse. Like, I tried to work out over lunch at home. It just wasn't the same.
Yeah.
We both work at home. So getting out of the house, coming here, starting your day, it's such the wake up that I need. So I find like, I'm like, whatever it takes, even if it's 6:30 in the morning, if it's 8:30, just making it part of my routine, I think just sets my day up for success. And then I'm in a better mood. I'm happier. I have more energy. And I'm like, I can do this. Even though I sit at home all day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you changed your training at all? Like, prioritized weights over conditioning, or did less conditioning after you had Frankie?
I think I probably got more into Power Hour at that point.
Yeah.
Mark got really into it at that point. We kind of like ebb and flow in terms of is
Okay.
it Rev, is it CrossFit, is it Power Hour?
Yeah.
So I probably got more into Power Hour since he did.
I love women to hear this, by the way, because I
Yes.
know that's what you did.
Yes.
So yeah,
Yeah.
The weight training, it really you always have had a nice physique, a nice shape, but I could really just see like you kind of level up and even like your lean muscle mass and your body fat, and stay a little bit leaner.
Yeah.
And through probably less conditioning, more
Yes.
weight training.
I know, and I was like, I need to do that.
Yeah.
With my schedule, like 8:30, it works best for me. So I like that CrossFit's a mix of both. But I even said the same thing. Like, I need to get back into the weight training because I feel so good. It could be pregnancy too, but I feel weaker. Like my arms, I'm like, there's just things that I notice when I don't do Power Hour.
Yeah.
Consistently, then I'm like, okay, I miss components of that.
Yeah. And I lost a lot of strength with both pregnancies. I know some women will feel like super strong. That's the first thing to go on me, but I come from such a conditioning background, and maybe that's the same with you, that I feel like that's the thing I hold on to a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Like that's more my strength. So I kind of hold on to that longer and I lose that strength right away.
Yeah. I could move for 20 minutes. Can't say I'm lifting heavy weights for all that entire time, but
yeah. Is that the biggest thing you've noticed with this pregnancy or both pregnancies is loss of strength?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. It's hard to put my finger exactly on it because I can't say I'm like, I joke that I'm like, oh, I can't do a strict pull-up. Well, I don't know if I could do a strict pull-up prior, like if I'm truly being honest with myself.
Yeah.
But I would say the strength piece is probably the biggest thing of like, I don't feel like I have the power in some of the movements anymore. Part of that is probably due to some of my training though as well.
Yeah.
So just being focused on, coming to CrossFit because that's what works. And so I'm like, I can't pick myself apart. If I can get here at 8:30, then that's what I'll do.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you have goals for yourself, like postpartum now, or?
Don't have goals necessarily. So this will be another C-section, which I had a C-section the first time around. Wasn't planned. The shoe was breached, so they tried to do the version and move her. And I remember the first couple days after that being like, I don't think I'll walk again. And I know you had a C-section, and
No, I didn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, oh my God, I don't think I'll ever move the same. So it was more of a mental hurdle than anything of just slowly getting back to it. And that took some time.
Yeah, because it's like 6 weeks. I mean, no real lifting, right? Because you have a big incision there and it's got to heal.
Yes. And then they actually had to cut me vertically as well, just from her placement. So even coming back, I remember being like, oh, like that right side, like really hurts. So I was very gentle in terms of like, I'm going to do what I can do the best I can. If I have to modify, I'll modify. So I don't think I necessarily have goals. I mean, I want to be able to be back here. We'll have to see how life is with 2 and, how we manage drop off and work and all of that. But my goal would be just to show up.
Yeah.
Once I can. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and when you show up, you always work hard. So
I try, but it's more of just like, okay, how is life going to, and I know we'll get to a point where it's totally fine, but I think that's to me, like what I'm just trying to navigate, and we'll have to see how it goes.
It's a little juggling act. With 2 little ones, at first for a little while. But what I'm sure you even noticed, like with your first kid, what I really noticed with Kate is you get better with your time management. You have to,
Totally.
because you're like, all of a sudden you don't have just wide open time. So like, when you are going to do something, you're like more intentional about everything you're doing.
100%.
And you'll get. I'm sure you'll fit. You're very organized. Like, I mean, she'll have her. Don't show this to your work people. But
I was going to say, hope no one from work sees this.
She'll have a meeting going. Next to her square in CrossFit. While
it reminds
we're
me of when
training.
I was working at Lifetime. Like I'd always have something I had to be on, like in the background. I'm like, I'm kind of.
Yeah, you'd always have
kind of paying
meeting going.
attention. Yeah.
Yep.
I know. I'm like, it works for now. I'm like,
Yeah.
so we'll see. But
No, you do what you got to do. One thing I wanted to ask you went to OU, didn't you?
I did.
I think I was trying to get you on our party bus.
Yes, you got to mark your calendar.
I know. I think this was right after Frankie, and I was like, oh,
yeah,
God.
It was kind of tight to when you had the baby. So when are you due?
May.
That's perfect timing. If we do
Is
it
in
again this year,
October, or is it September?
September, October,
September.
Party
bus.
early
Yeah,
October.
it's an annual thing now.
Yeah,
Oh.
that'll be good timing. Your
I've been
first
telling
outing.
Mark, I was like, we've got to get back there. I miss it. Yeah.
It's so much fun. We've done it the last couple of years, and I think when I turned 31, Kate asked me, like, what do you want to do for your birthday? I was like, I haven't been back to Athens in 5-6 years, and a bunch of people from our gym, they had one of those fests, like one of those.
Probably like
the
fest.
Yes. So I went to 1 through 5.
Yeah.
That's when I was going there.
Yeah.
And but a bunch of kids from the gym went. So we all went, and it ended up being like the funnest day ever, because when they got done with the fest, they were at all the bars, and there was like 20 people from the gym. And it felt like I was in college. We were just bouncing around all the Court Street bars with 20 kids from the gym. And so we had a great time. And then now that we're grown-ups, I'm like, okay, I'd like to do that again. So now we get like a little party bus and take the OU alum from the gym down there. It's fun.
Good time. We did that for I think it was my 30th that we went back and did the same thing. And I was like, oh my God, I need like 7 days to recover though.
Yeah, that's how it is.
It's
each
not
time.
the same.
Yeah, that's how
we bounced back way fast in college.
Yeah. We intentionally try and get the bus to leave it. I think we take it back at 10.
Yeah.
You know?
You got to have pizza in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pizza, water,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pizza in there like mid. Yeah.
Ibuprofen.
Yeah.
Where did you live at OU?
I lived on South Green for 2 years.
Okay. I did for a year, yep.
Yeah. Yeah, South Green was great. And then we were my best friend and I were kind of above CVS on Fort Street.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a good spot
It was
right there.
great.
That's
It
a
was
really
great.
good spot. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right in the middle
Prime
of it.
access to everything. Yeah. It was a little too convenient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right in the middle of it.
It was a good time.
Were you in a sorority or anything like that?
I wasn't.
I wasn't in any of that.
No, it's kind of like, you know what, I'm just going to go enjoy college, see what it has to offer. But kind of, it's like some days I'll go to class, some days, what's the point?
Were you in and out in 4 years? Okay.
Yeah. That was my parents'
Brandon, not so much.
No. But
When we met, he's a little younger than me, but I'm like, you kind of talk about college like it was like 2 months ago. How
He's like,
I know how old you are.
Yeah.
Like, well,
that was 2000. So it wasn't that long ago. Because when did we get together? In 2011?
yeah.
And then
Is it 2006 you graduated?
6, yeah. So that, I mean, it hadn't been that long at that point. You know,
at that point,
5
it's like
years
your
or so.
best memories.
Yeah,
You're like,
yeah.
Let me tell you.
Yeah, it had been like 5 years.
I should have lived more of a college life.
But you were
Not
out
so
in
much.
When were you out, Kate? In like 3?
Yeah, 2003. Yeah.
So 3 to 11. That's stretching out a little bit more.
Part of it is I'm a little jealous that I didn't like have a full. I went to OSU, but I needed to like kind of grow up a little, so I worked and paid my way through, and
More the responsible kind.
yeah, you know, I'm making up for it now.
Yeah.
She was working at
I'm
Lifetime.
partying more now than I did in college. I feel like, or go through seasons, but yeah, I was at Lifetime, and I feel like, you know, we go through seasons, and I kind of just screwed off in high school, and there was another woman, so I have to thank all these women that have motivated me in my life that I graduated with, and she, you know, you're writing in the yearbook, and she was like signing my yearbook, and I went to a small school, but I was like homecoming queen and prom queen and all this other stuff, and she's like, you know, it doesn't matter, Kate can get all this stuff, but she's going to be back here barefoot and pregnant in a couple years. She's going to drop out of school. And it got back to me.
She wrote that in your yearbook?
No, but she was writing.
I was like, oh my God.
That shit's cold.
We need to go visit her.
So like,
You
good
know?
luck on finals. I'll see you this summer. Like, you're getting back here barefoot, bitch.
Knocked up and single.
And I was like,
Love Jenny.
well, and I guess like to defend myself, I had a long-term boyfriend, so it wasn't just like I was like sleeping around, but you know, I started to get real pissed, and then I thought, well, why wouldn't she think this? Like, literally, what have I done to show her any different? I might think of myself differently, but it's literally just how I view myself, and they're just observing me, right? And I'm like, you better get your shit together. And I graduated with like some super low GPA, and it's not because I'm dumb. I was just such an asshole. I just really wanted to piss off my mom. I mean, I had some issues. So when I see Charlotte, I'm like, oh, here we go. I'm like, okay, here's what we do. I don't care about grades at all. Do whatever you want.
Right. I know how this goes.
But so I just needed to kind of be disciplined, I think, for myself, to prove to myself I could, you know, get through school. And I love fitness, and that goes with discipline. And, you know, I found fitness shows at the end of my college career, and that, you know, you're not partying when you're
Sure you're not.
yeah, none of that.
Yeah.
So I think children, and I was going to ask you about this too, because I know you've always been in shape, and that was important to you. For me, I think children have really helped me not overthink body stuff so much, my own stuff. Like it kind of helps me get out of my own head and body like dysmorphia or overanalyzing. I still will find time to do that in terms sometimes. But do you think that's helped you, like with your workout balance and nutrition balance? And
I think it probably absolutely has, and just in terms of like, to Brandon's point, like you only have so much time in the day, so how do you maximize, your time at the gym? And then it's like, I gotta eat, I gotta get these things done. And obviously she's a girl, she's not old enough, I think, at this point to understand, or if she's smart enough to understand things. I don't know what all she interprets at this point, but I think especially as she gets older, it's going to be more important to be like, we eat when we're hungry. Like we eat everything, we eat everything. I haven't spent a ton of time thinking through that, but I feel like my mom was with having 4 daughters was
I was just going to ask about that, how that was.
Just like didn't over prioritize food, didn't put a ton of pressure on it. Was just like, you eat when you need to eat and you don't worry about what you're eating. And I feel like that helped shape me to be like, okay, kind of the same thought. I've never overthought it.
That's really nice.
So I feel like my mom did a phenomenal job, just that kind of like not overemphasizing one thing or the other. So like, as much as I can take from that. And
move enough so you don't have to like obsess over it. Right.
Exactly. I know. I'm like,
move enough that you don't have to think about it that much.
Right. Exactly. So we'll see, but definitely I think it's helped me prioritize, my time and everything.
Are your sisters all active now too?
Yes, my youngest is actually a phenomenal Ironman athlete.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so she was a wonderful runner really fast, and then got into Ironman, qualified for Worlds. Wow. So she actually had to defer that because she had a baby. So her son's 5 months old. So her goal is to get back to, she'd be in Kona this year. So her goal is to do that. I was like, you are an insane beast if you can, make that all happen, prioritize your time. So she's good. My sister that's a year younger than me did a half Ironman with her. So she's fit. She's the one that did CrossFit for a while. And then my oldest she was a phenomenal runner in high school. Still does Orange Theory here and there. But yeah, everyone's active. My parents have always been active. My dad has been. So I feel like that was just part of our nature growing up of like, you didn't just sit on the beach. My dad was like, no, we're playing obstacle courses. Like, go swim as far as you can, go get sand, come back to us. And we were like, this seems like torture, but sure. Dad said to do it, but that's kind of what we grew up knowing.
I love to hear stories like that where it's just kind of like normal. It's just what you do. It's not this big force.
That's what Tyler, another member, Tyler Ferricks, who was on here, and he's been, I always say he's like one of the fittest members in the history of the gym, and he started with us close to the beginning, and he's here 3 or 4 days a week, and is just a dad and just absolutely crushes it. But we asked him about his background, and like his dad would, I think like drop him off at sports practices and then like run the whole time. And then like Tyler does the same thing with his daughters. Too. He drops them off at like cheerleading, and then he'll go on a 45-minute run or bike ride or something. Yeah. And it's just like, he learned that, and that's just normal behavior. And I'm like, that's really cool. And I hope we kind of instill that in our kids without, boot camp them, we're doing push-ups in the morning, and, it's just like, oh, they see that, and that's like what you do.
I feel like it's 100% of what they see their parents do. Yeah. I mean, my dad would be at the grocery, and he's like, all right, I'm going to run home. Drop me off on the side of the road. And I was like, okay.
Dad, I can't drive. Figure it out. I'll be there.
I mean, he does. He would run to my friends' houses and, like, shower there and be like, come pick me up. And I was like, this is so weird, but, like, that's just kind of what he did. It's what you see him do, and I feel like your kids, for Charlotte and Oscar, it's like, you're not forcing them, but they see that this is a priority, so it's like they'll make it a priority.
And just kind of being hardcore about it and just like, oh, whatever. Yeah. Like, you're not having the perfect circumstance, you're still going to do it. Yeah. That's really neat.
I think there is something to that, too, as far as if you're setting the tone and you're making an example of that. If, say, your kids are playing sports or you want them to do an activity and you're saying, hey, this is maybe something you should do, you're saying it from a spot where they're not like, well, you're not doing anything. It's like, okay, like, hey, I get it. Like, I should be doing that more. And they're not just going to look at you. It's not like you have a beer and a cigarette on the couch and you're like,
keep running.
Yeah. You need to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and go for a run in the morning. And they're just like, what are you doing? Like, if you're doing that stuff, I really feel like that's a good spot to be, hey, I think this would be something good for you to do.
And I feel like it was so much, not the pressure. Like, I feel like there's some parents that put so much pressure on their kids in sports at a young age of like, this is what you're going to do. You're going to be great at this. And it's like, then they get burned out or they resent the parents. They don't want to do it. It's like, go at your own free will. Like, if you love it, continue. If you don't, so be it. But I feel like that's where like the natural, like then, not obsession, but like, then you're like, I actually want to do this for myself because I love it. And I love like what I get out of it. You won't
resent that later on.
That's how I feel. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to ask you, Dave, I've never heard you talk about your parents. Were they active like when you were growing up, or?
They were never really, my dad was never really a gym rat. He was like an athlete growing up, but he, played softball like when I was a kid, like company softball. He played golf his whole life. He was more just like the outdoor type, just kind of, doing stuff around the house.
Yep.
I mean, he's gotten more into the gym now later in his life because it's just more important.
That's like my dad.
Stay healthy, just like your dad, at that age, it might be simple stuff. It's like machine circuits. He's actually a really good swimmer, like kind of that cliche, like the old guy that can like do laps in the pool for an hour, and I can do 4 laps, and I'm like, like he's a very good swimmer. He's always been that. My mom always did when I was younger. Like I just remember going to like aerobics classes when I was too young to stay home. I'd just be sitting there and just 45-year-old ladies and like leotards and stuff, and I'm just kind of hanging out there. But she always she did yoga and all sorts of aerobics and stuff when I was younger, but nothing like they weren't like athletes. I think just being the youngest of 4 growing up, it was just kind of what you did. You're a kid, you start baseball when you're a kid. Baseball never really stuck to me, but I just kind of just got exposed to sports because that's just kind of what you do. And I had hundreds of kids in my neighborhood in kind of the suburbs that we would just play sports and stuff. So I just kind of naturally gravitated to like playing sports and things like that. So, just had a community around me and friends that did it, and just like I said, older siblings you just kind of see from them. And like I said, my parents were never really overly like, I gotta do this. They supported me in kind of whatever I did, but I kind of chose to do the things I wanted to, and it was kind of, I feel like naturally just a really hard competitor.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They probably had to put the brakes on me sometimes because that was a little too intense, Yep. And the same thing with food. I think it was very similar to yours. Is like I would go to friends' houses where they would have maybe like the candy cupboard or a lot of junk food, but they weren't like, my mom was just like, I think it was just very normal, good habits, and have a lot of home cooked meals and dinners and like a lot of Italian food, things like that. And if now and again we'd have some treats like that, but they like made sure that we ate really well. So I think I got really good eating habits just from growing up, and they're like normal, not too extreme.
Wasn't like end. Talladega Nights where they've got the 2 liters and
no. I feel like my mom, like I would go to friends' houses and sleepovers, and I have friends that had like Cookie Crisp and like all the good. And as a kid, you like loved going to those. Houses,
you had those kids who had the good
like
stuff.
Fruit snacks and all that stuff. But we had like Raisin Bran in our house, or Total, or my mom was, doing like crack on oat bran, or just stuff that like, or making oatmeal, just stuff that it wasn't exciting at the time. Like if we went on vacation for a week to the beach, I would get my own like cereal to bring with me, and it would be a special time. But no, just very reasonable stuff, and I think that like definitely influences your relationship with those things growing up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Something I think about a lot is really just almost like teaching kids what is hard work, and I feel like that was something I really had to, like, I grew up on a farm and my dad worked really hard, but like this like internal grit I just didn't have. Like I didn't have to do any farm work, and I just felt like I was like not the hardest worker, and I had to really work on that perseverance, that grit, from like schoolwork to like exercise to just even like dealing with being uncomfortable. Like, you're okay. You're okay. And I still always, it's almost like that's my baseline, to be a little soft. And I'm like, how can I help the kids not be that, But it's, I think, so much of a product of like, can you go without something kind of consistently and know that you're okay? Whatever that is. Like, it might be like, now for kids, it might be like Oscar will, yes, or video games. He'll want to play video games every morning. I'm like, listen, this is not like a built-in thing that you're entitled to. Like, if you get all your stuff done, you get your teeth brushed, you can come down here, you can do this for a little bit. But like, you're okay if you go without this, or you don't have to sit down and watch TV. This isn't like a requirement like food and water. It's just something I think about a lot, because I will always come back to like, Kate, you just got to toughen up a little bit. Like if I want to get in better shape, like you just got to be a little more uncomfortable. Like you're fine. You can push that workout a little bit harder. You're okay. You don't need to like eat this extra thing and this every Saturday. You don't have to have a special meal. Like last week we were talking about that. We went to my grandpa's funeral and Brandon's like, do you really need to have this like big meal right now? And I'm like, yes. Yes, I do. I've been eating out of a Tupperware all day. Yeah. I want like my cheeseburger and fries and ice cream. And I mean, I think there's a time and a place, but like just to like realize you're okay if you don't have all these added like luxuries. And if you can go through those times, those periods without, and just kind of keep that baseline there. I think as you get older, that's where most people give up, because it just gets harder. You don't feel like it, or it gets old or whatever. And if you just kind of keep like steady, like, all right, I don't need all this extra fluff, even though I can live life a little bit like nicer every day, or I can go out to eat more often because I have the means to do it, and just still kind of living like you're a broke college student, eating out of Tupperware from time to time. And I just think about that a lot when it comes to like raising kids too, and how to make things special. And because if you can go out to eat at nice restaurants every day, then it's not special anymore. Right. Or if you have 2 cocktails every day, then they're not special anymore. You have a cheeseburger, whatever it is, then it's nothing special, but it's kind of like what makes life good. So
I feel like coffee is always special in the morning. It's like the thing every day I look forward. I'm just making that coffee. Like
I need
I love this thing every morning. It's the same thing. But
I know
too much.
Yeah.
That was my big like light bulb this week. I was sick on Wednesday. I'm like, okay, what do I need to do to adjust in my life right now to feel better? It was something simple. Not that coffee made me sick, but I'm like, you need to take out that second cup of coffee. And here's my tea. Shed a tear.
You, yeah.
I love the idea of it.
Your mom, Brandon's like, are you not drinking coffee while pregnant? I'm like, oh no, I
asked her that today.
2 full Yetis.
Yeah, well, you're allowed 200 milligrams, but everything's a sliding scale.
I probably overextend that too hard, but I'm like, yep.
Coffee's an acceptable addiction.
Yeah, it is.
It's a necessity.
It is.
Like it gets you through.
So you probably don't obsess over, do you like worry about the deli meat, all of that, or?
I'm the worst.
My OB was like, listen, if it seems unhealthy, don't eat it. Yeah. But meat, chicken sitting out on the counter for 3 hours, I would tell you not to eat. Yeah. You don't need to worry about we would always have that conversation. And he infamously said, I can have 2 8-ounce glasses of wine every weekend. And I'm like, you don't drink, that's a bottle of wine. But
yeah.
Don't get drunk, I think.
Right. I think it's everything in moderation.
Yes, exactly.
You know what? Do your workout in moderation until you feel good. Eat, same reason. Yeah. It's like, as long as it's balanced, I feel like everything's going to be fine.
Yeah.
I don't overstress about any of that. Yeah. There's too much other stuff going on. I'm like, whatever.
Well, that's good. I think that approach is, that's going to keep you sane, especially
hopefully.
On the other side.
For you. It's kept you healthy and happy, and, you're rocking it out in here. So
I appreciate it.
I hope, once you get through this one, that you're able to keep your rhythm and come in here. We got the kids' room for you.
I know. I love that.
Yeah.
I just tell my sisters, I'm like, oh, we have a daycare.
Yeah.
You don't. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we don't use it that much anymore. Even just a few years ago when we first opened this here, so that was 3 years ago. Our daughter was 2, and our son was, like 5. So they were in there all the time. Now they're in school and stuff. They're not in there too much, but it's something we want to maintain, because it's, even though like from a financial aspect, it's not like a big winner for us. It is really important for us to like help people like have a spot and a place to be able to do all of this. And
sure, the member retention though, because like,
I
mean, we only can use it on Saturdays, and we live in Dublin, so we're driving like 25 minutes. But I was like, there's no other place I can find that has the flexibility and the options. I'm like, whatever it takes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we love it here and love the flexibility, but that is a huge benefit for us.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm glad someone likes it.
Oh, yeah.
Cool. Well, hey, thanks for coming on. We'll see you in the gym.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.